Hello, dear viewer. I want you to picture Batman, but now take away the ears. Now it's just... man. A guy in a black mask. He looks like he's about to rob a bank. The ears do nothing. They don't help him see, they don't stop bullets, they make him taller, which is actually terrible for someone who's supposed to hide in the shadows, and yet, something about Batman without ears feels completely wrong. That wrongness is what this whole video is about, because superhero suits are full of decisions that make absolutely zero logical sense, and somehow, taking any of them away breaks everything. But the one thing that is logical are capes. Yes, I know that sounds counterintuitive, but hang on tight, we're getting there shortly, and you'll agree. Let's start with Superman. His suit is red and blue. Visible from orbit, the man who can move faster than a speeding bullet decided the best outfit for fighting crime was something you could spot from a helicopter. And honestly, there's a version of that which makes sense. In a Marvel novel, Iron Man actually defends bright colors as branding. The bad guys need to know who's coming. Cool philosophy, except that also means the bad guys always know exactly where you are. Real stealth operatives don't wear uniforms. Ninjas in feudal Japan mostly just wore whatever everyone else was wearing and blended in the crowds. CIA officers look like accountants on purpose. The most dangerous people in any room are the ones you never notice. These guys went the complete opposite direction, and apparently nobody questioned it. But Superman at least has an excuse. He's basically a god. Bullets bounce off him. Stealth is kind of optional when you're invincible. Iron Man has an excuse that he needs people in need to see that help has arrived. Batman has no such excuse. Batman is a normal human. His entire strategy is fear and shadow. Strike from the darkness and disappear before anyone knows where you are. He wears all black, which at least he's trying. And then he brings Robin. Bright red tunic, green shorts, yellow cape. The world's greatest detective decided his stealth operation needed a traffic cone sidekick. There's actually an inverse explanation that Robin wears bright colors to draw fire away from Batman. Robin plays good cop while Batman disappears back into the shadows, which is either genius tactical thinking or just a really elaborate way of saying Bruce uses a child as a distraction. Possibly both. Either way, the terror guy is still wearing a giant yellow bat symbol on his chest. You can't be a shadow and a brand. Pick one. And then there's the Flash, moves at the speed of sound, wears a red onesie. At those speeds, the friction alone should set him on fire. The comics eventually gave his suit a special heat-resistant material, but that explanation arrived decades after the character. For years, he was just a man technically on fire who kept running and nobody brought it up. He also has those cute little earpieces, which apparently house a radio transmitter, but only when the plot demands it. And alright, same with Batman. He also had an antenna in them only when the plot demanded it, and still, those ears make no sense. For Flash, the earpiece makes him less aerodynamic. Just place the transmitter on the back of his hat or suit and run a wire through it to his ear. Same with Batman. He's got millions. He can do it. Those are just the small details. Try fixing the big details and you'll have a problem. Make Superman wear tactical black. Make Batman ditch the chest symbol. Make Robin wear dark colors. Suddenly, you have three guys who look like they're robbing a building and nobody knows who the heroes are. The Incredibles actually figured this out before anyone else did. Edna Mode's whole design philosophy, functional suits, bright colors, no capes, understood something that 80 years of comics kept stumbling over. The visibility is the whole point. You're supposed to be seen. You're supposed to mean something when you show up. Just not when you're trying to be stealthy, huh, Bob? So if the suit isn't for hiding, at least it's for protection, right? Right? Think about what these people are actually walking into. Guys with machine guns, people who can bench press a skyscraper, villains who can reach inside your skull and rearrange your thoughts before you finish a sentence. The rational response to that threat landscape is full body armor. Real soldiers wear helmets. Boxers wrap their hands. A motorcycle rider won't go around the block without a helmet, and nobody's shooting them with laser beams. And yet Green Arrow, billionaire world-class fighter trained for years across multiple continents, covers his face with a small domino mask and calls it a disguise. His secret identity is Oliver Queen, also a billionaire, also has an extremely distinctive beard. The mask covers his eyes, the beard is just there, doing nothing, available for anyone to look at. Daredevil is literally blind and patrols one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in New York with two small decorative horns on his head. Cyclops wears a visor to contain his own power, which is smart, necessary engineering, and then fights telepaths for 30 years without ever adding psychic shielding to it. The visor protects everyone else from Cyclops. Nobody thought to protect Cyclops. But there are some that do it right. Like Magneto. From the beginning, he looked at his situation. His oldest friend and most dangerous enemy is the most powerful telepath alive, and built a direct countermeasure into his helmet. Psychic shielding engineered into the signature look. Except the telepathy blocking wasn't in the original comics. Magneto wore the helmet from his first appearance in 1963, but back then it was just a helmet. A cool looking helmet, sure, but functionally just a hat. The psychic shielding was was invented for Bryan Singer's X-Men movie in 2000 because Singer thought the comic version looked like, and this is a real quote from the production, a glorified bucket. So they gave it a reason to exist. A film costume designer trying to make a prop look more purposeful accidentally invented the most logically sound piece of headgear in superhero history. The comics liked it so much they retconned it in shortly after. The one suit element that genuinely makes sense was invented backwards, by accident, for a movie. And then, the question nobody in the X-Men universe ever asks, if the helmet works. Why doesn't everyone get one? Every other member of the Brotherhood stands right next to Magneto, watches the helmet block Professor X repeatedly, and still shows up to the next fight with their skulls completely open. Jean Grey could end half of these confrontations in about 30 seconds. Cyclops has been mind-controlled so many times it's basically a reoccurring medical condition. Nobody has ever said, hey, can we get a few more of those helmets made? So why doesn't everyone just wear head protection? Well, I have one speculative theory. Hear me out.
Jabba the Hutt. Hell no! Hell!
It's about their face. You need to see Bruce Wayne's jaw set when he makes a hard call. You need to feel Peter Parker's fear through his eyes, which is why the MCU gave Spider-Man's mask expressive mechanical lenses, because even a full mask wasn't enough. They needed the eyes to move. Iron Man actually solved this problem cleanly. The faceplate opens when the scene needs Tony Stark, closes when it needs Iron Man. It also has this in-suit camera view for exactly that purpose. The face is the emotional instrument of the entire story. A fully helmeted superhero lineup is a practical problem solved and a narrative one created. You fixed the protection issue and now nobody knows what anyone is feeling and every fight scene goes emotionally flat. The new suits don't protect the characters' heads because the story needs their faces. It was never really about the helmets. Now, besides the suits having a functional meaning, there is also the secret identity paradox, also attributed to attire. For Superman, that is glasses. That's it. 87 years of glasses. Clark Kent is the funniest ongoing bit in all of superhero fiction. And I say that with complete respect, because the truly impressive thing is that DC has spent nearly a century officially trying to justify it, and every single explanation is somehow funnier than the one before. The first defense is actually the most reasonable. Christopher Reeve's Clark Kent doesn't just wear glasses. He hunches his shoulders, drops his voice, moves completely differently, and acts like a man who's never been confident a single day in his life. Watch him play Clark and then Superman back to back, and they genuinely read as different people. The performance carries what the glasses can't. That's a real argument. DC didn't stop there, though. John Byrne suggested in 1986 that nobody even thinks to look for Superman in civilian clothing, because why would an alien god have a day job? Nobody suspects Superman has a secret identity because the concept is too absurd to consider. Which is clever. It's basically hidden in plain sight through sheer implausibility. Then in 1978, Superman issue 330, DC just went fully off the rails. The glasses emit hypnosis. Anyone who looks at Clark while he's wearing them subconsciously cannot connect him to Superman. That's the official inverse explanation DC published and put on shelves. Think about it. James Gunn's new Superman addresses the glasses things too, which means every single reboot has to solve this as one of its first agenda items. That fact alone tells you everything. Even the people making Superman are aware it's broken. They can't just fix it, because fixing it means covering the face. The masked Superman defeats the entire point of Superman. He has to be recognizable, and the disguise has to be paper thin. Those two facts are completely irreconcilable, and DC has not been reconciling them since 1938. Now, Spider-Man at least understood the assignment. Full mask, complete anonymity, nobody sees Peter Parker's face. Genuinely good design thinking, but his hands are sticky. The suit has full gloves, no fingerprints, clean, everything is good, problem solved. Except the gloves are covering the part of him that makes his powers actually work. In most versions, there's vague hand-waving about the suit material being micro-perforated or he uses bioelectrical power or something, but the fundamental issue remains. He designed around the wrong threat. The gloves protect him from identification. They also cover the thing that keeps him on the wall. And then there's Wonder Woman's bracelets, which are actually functional. She's not fully bulletproof in most versions. Piercing weapons are a general vulnerability, so the indestructible wrist guards are solving a real problem. Points for that. They cover maybe 10% of her body. She's going into combat against literal gods wearing a strapless swimsuit with 2 wrist guards, and that's the armor. Everything from the shoulder down to the waist exposed. Everything above the knee and below the hips exposed. The 10% that's covered, genuinely protected. Oh, and those bracelets, they were never intended as protection. Creator William Marston based them on silver bracelets worn by his partner Olivia Byrne, because he liked how they looked on her. The defensive function was figured out afterwards. The most iconic piece of protective gear in Wonder Woman's entire arsenal started as a jewelry preference. Someone looked at a design choice made for personal aesthetic reasons and worked backwards until they found a reason for it to exist, which honestly is how almost every element of every superhero suit got created. Someone thought it looked cool, then everyone else had to figure out why it made sense. Some do break that exception though. Iron Man first course, because it's an easy one. Tony Stark's suit is the only superhero costume in existence where every single element is load-bearing. Remove the helmet, he can't breathe in space. Remove the repulsors, he can't fly or fight. Remove the chest piece, the suit dies. There's no decorative layer to Iron Man, except maybe the colors, but we're not getting into that again. The suit is the superpower, which means every design decision has to justify itself functionally. It's the only superhero suit you could hand to an engineer and they wouldn't immediately find something to argue with. Then the cape. Finally, the cape. Batman's cape glides. Several versions are bulletproof. It creates a silhouette that conceals his body shape and makes him look larger and more inhuman than he actually is. When he wraps it around himself, he essentially disappears into a shape that doesn't read as a person. The cape earns every inch of fabric. Magneto also fits here with his helmet. Flash also fits here with the parts of his suit that deal with the heat problem. The little earwigs remain questionable. But Black Panther's vibranium weave is probably the closest thing to a realistic supersuit concept that exists in comics. Lightweight, impact absorbing, covers the whole body, no visual compromise. T'Challa essentially already solved the problem everyone else in this video was ignoring. He just did it and didn't make a big deal about it. Not making a big deal out of anything is in his character.
There is no Black Panther without Denzel Washington.
We miss you, Chadwick. Thank you for everything. So what do all of these have in common? The suit exists because the power requires it. Either the power created a problem that needs solving, Tony needs armor because he has no natural protection, T'Challa needs protection because he's fighting superhuman threats without superhuman durability, or the suit fills a specific gap the power leaves open. The relationship between the power and the suit is direct and functional, but the further you get from that relationship, the worse it gets. The more a suit exists just to look like a superhero rather than function like one, the faster the logic falls apart. Robin's shorts, to be clear, are indefensible by any framework anyone has ever proposed. There is no power, there was no gap being filled, there is a child in green shorts fighting armed criminals in Gotham City, and no engineering rationale has ever been offered because none exists. And still, someone eventually looked at all this, the bright colors, the exposed faces, the green shorts, and decided to fix it. That someone was Brian Hitch. In the early 2000s, Marvel launched the Ultimates. The pitch was simple. Take the Avengers, restart them from scratch, and ask one question nobody had seriously asked before. What would these characters actually look like in the real world? Hitch was the artist, and his answer was to throw out spandex entirely and rebuild everything from athletic wear, military equipment, and tactical body armor. Gone was Iron Man's bulky refrigerator suit from the 60s. Here was something that looked like it came out of a defense contractor's R&D department. Thor lost the asterisk look. Captain America looked like an actual soldier. It set the comic world on fire, and it became almost directly the visual template for the entire MCU. For some characters, this was exactly right. Iron Man, technology, military application. The armored suit makes complete sense translated into something grounded. Captain America is literally a government super soldier. A militarized uniform is the correct answer. Even Thor in the first film felt genuinely regal, visually distinct, like he came from somewhere completely different to everyone else on screen. The approach worked, so they applied it to everyone. Shang-Chi is a martial artist. His entire fighting philosophy, the thing that makes him visually interesting and separates him from every other fighter in the MCU, is about the body moving free and fluidly. Unencumbered movement is literally the point of his character. They put him in structured panels with reinforced sections across the shoulders and chest. His suit and his father Wenwu's suit looks like they were ordered from the same catalog. Two characters on opposite ends of a generational conflict who are supposed to represent completely different philosophies, wearing essentially the same thing in different colors. Oh, thank you so much, MCU. It's not like I haven't had enough of the palette-swapping color nonsense that the video game industry has already thrown in front of my fucking face. Scarlet Witch spent the first decade of the MCU in civilian clothes because nobody could figure out what to do with her, which, honestly, fair. Her comic costume is a red leotard with a wing headpiece that's difficult to translate without it looking like a Halloween costume, but when WandaVision finally gave her a proper suit, the solution was structured leathered armor, with paneling across the chest, same material language as the Winter Soldier, same design vocabulary as half the MCU, while being a pure chaos magic who can rewrite reality with a thought, dressed like she sources her gear from the same supplier as a government assassin. And guess what? The material language has a problem. Wow, surprise! It looks like every suit is made with the same pattern. It appears on Spider-Man's suit and Captain America's suit and Shuri's suit and Black Panther's suit and about a dozen others across the MCU. A teenager from Queens who hand sews his own clothes in his bedroom shares the same design DNA as a World War II super soldier in a government uniform, a Wakandan princess with access to the most advanced technology on Earth, and a man wearing the skin of a panther. How? The individual suits aren't bad, taken one at a time. Most of them are well crafted and detailed and clearly made by people who care. The problem is that everything gets filtered through the same precise and very narrow aesthetic lens. And when you line them all up together, the differences that should make each character visually distinct get flattened into variations on a theme. Doctor Strange is the exception that makes this obvious. The cloak of levitation, the layered robes, the sling ring, the detailed detail work that reads as genuinely ancient and magical rather than tactical. It has its own visual vocabulary that doesn't borrow from anything else in the MCU. Stand Doctor Strange next to Captain America and they look like they come from completely different worlds, which they do. You can feel that difference just from the costumes. That's what the whole MCU should feel like. But then comes the obvious objection you're all throwing at your screen right now, if you're even still watching and I haven't pissed you off yet by missing details from that one comic I didn't read or one film I didn't see where the suits do have a special ability making my entire video wrong. Yes, I hear you. Put down your pitchforks. The truth is, the suit was never solving the problems we've been talking about. The only suit we really care about is Iron Man's. Maybe Spider-Man and some others as well because they relied on the craft of making their own suit. That is an art that has been lost over the years. Besides that, think about the last time a superhero suit genuinely made you feel something. Not think something, feel something. The moment in the Avengers when Cap's suit gets torn in the final battle and he just keeps going anyway. Peter Parker pulling the rubble off himself in Homecoming. The first time Diana walks into No Man's Land in Wonder Woman and the camera holds on her for just long enough. None of those moments work because the suit is logical. They work because the suit is a promise and the character's keeping it. When Superman's cape catches the light, you don't run the aerodynamics. When Batman's silhouette appears on a rooftop, you don't think about the tactical disadvantage of being taller. Something older and less rational than logic is responding to those images. The suit is communicating who the person is, what they stand for, what it costs them before they say a single word. It's doing the work of character in the space of a visual. That's not something a tactical jumpsuit can do. Every element we've made fun of in this video is doing the same job. Robin's absurd bright colors is a signal. Green Arrow's exposed beard is character. Clark Kent's hypno glasses is the price DC pays for needing Superman's face visible at all times, which they pay willingly every single reboot because the alternative is worse. The suits that actually failed, the overdesigned MCU ones, the CW leather jackets, the costumes that got fixed into generic tactical gear, they fail because someone asked, does this make sense? With the real question was always, does this feel like something? Those are not the same questions, they almost never have the same answer. A fully logical Spider-Man suit has grip-enabled gloves that actually work with his powers. Full helmet, muted urban camouflage colors, probably looks a lot like a military exosuit. Every problem solved, every piece of absurdity addressed, and you've made someone who could be anybody. So the next time someone points out that Batman's ears are tactically stupid, or that no one would actually be fooled by a pair of glasses, or that strapless swimsuit is a genuine bizarre choice for fighting gods, they're completely right. Every word of it. They're also missing the entire point. The suits make no sense. That's exactly why they work, and somewhere out there, a kid is wearing a cape to feel like a superhero, ears and all, and not thinking about any of this for even a second, which is probably the most correct response of all. But you can't get suits right while you make a completely different mistake in regards to their superpowers, and if you don't know what mistake I'm talking about, click here to watch it.